So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. Let's take a moment before we start, just in gathering ourselves and invoking Mother's presence, Sri Aurobindo's presence, and also remembering Champaklal ji. So today, maybe we can. Yeah, there are many things that we can take. I don't know. I don't have a proper schedule, but there are a couple of things on my mind which we can take up. So we started with Champaklal ji on this, Oroma's website. There was a lecture by Nirodha where he was sharing about Champaklal ji, and we started with that. We did not complete it, so maybe we can today take up a little bit of that towards the end. I'm not taking all of it. We can do it by ourselves. uh, where he talks about how towards the later half of his life he was traveling and touring a lot, and he had taken a vow of silence. So although he toured a lot, but he did not say a word. And he would be given many gifts also on these trips, and what he would do with that we can read. And then towards the end he kind of compiles it up, which also would be nice to read. So something on silence, I thought, since we see with Champaklalji's life, I think we get inspired by his Maun Vrat towards the end. So I thought I'll just share something from the mother on silence. So just reading her words: to learn to be quiet and silent when you have a problem to solve, instead of turning over in your head all the possibilities, all the consequences. If you remain quiet with an aspiration for goodwill, the solution comes very quickly. And as you are silent, you are able to hear it. So many of us, all the time, we are struggling in many situations, what should be done, and kind of mentally trying to fix the situation or take charge of it, or mentally and analyzing, okay, these are the pros and these are the cons. But again, as we have so far understood, that mental uh, analysis has its own limitations. So no matter how good we think it is doing, but it would never be the highest towards the highest possibility. So if we want to have the higher guidance, then mother is suggesting to learn to be quiet and silent. And when you have a problem to solve, instead of turning over in your head all the possibilities, which we do with our rational mind, all the consequences, if you remain quiet with an aspiration for goodwill, means whatever the action must be taken, it may benefit everyone, the solution comes very quickly. And as you are silent, you are able to hear it. When you are caught in a difficulty, instead of becoming agitated, turning over all the ideas and actively seeking solutions, of worrying, fretting, running here and there inside your head. Remain quiet. And according to your nature, with ardor or peace, with intensity or widening, or with all these together, implore the light and wait for it to come. So, quite an importance of silence here. And I'm just reading this from the book On the Mother by K.R. Srinivasan Iyengar. And he also says that, just reading his words, just a second. Likewise, the mother had said earlier that the most precious gifts are given in silence, and that quietude was not simply the opposite of conflict, but a very positive and creative state. So we often take quietude as nothingness, So, but he's sharing that it's not just simply the absence of conflict, it is a very positive, active, creative space. An active peace, contagious, powerful, which controls and calms, and which puts everything in order, organizes a very great force, a very great strength. The mind has to first learn to be quiet before it can begin functioning in a new creative way. If the aim of integral yoga is not merely to attain the spirit, but through its descent and infusion into lower levels to effect a radical transformation of nature, then our very process of thinking must undergo a drastic change of functioning. So, just stressing on this aspect of silence, since when we read Champaklalji's, the vow of silence that he took for so many years, I think it has something to do really, deeply. Yeah, and just the last thing on silence by the mother. It is possible only when one has had the experience of complete silence in the mental region, and when the spiritual force with its light and power descends through the mind and makes it act directly without its following usual method of analysis, deduction, reasoning. So it's not that the mind is not functional, but now it's functional in a very radically different way, which one is not usually used to. The habit of analysis, deduction, reasoning, that is bypassed when the spiritual force is acting. And as I think we were reading in one of the sessions, I don't remember which one, where it was said that mm, only when we empty, I think synthesis of yoga, when we empty the cup, when we make it really empty, then we give space for the spiritual light and force to work. Yeah. So anything here? Anyone? Yeah, so that was just a bit on silence, owing to again the inspiration drawn from Champaklalji's The Vow of Silence. And now maybe we can go through this bit from Nirod Baranji, where he's sharing a bit about how what he did with all these gifts that he got on his many trips throughout the globe. I think that's also very inspirational. And then towards the end, he shares like a winding up of his life. Yeah, so would anyone want to read this much?
Yeah, I'll read. One peculiar feature of all these wanderings was that he returned with a log of baggage containing gifts and offerings given to him by the people wherever he went. It was as if a conqueror had returned with booty of all sorts. A good bit of the money from the offerings he received he gave for the project of greening the arid places of the ashram's lake estate, carried out by the students and teachers of our center of education. The successful development and growth of plants and flowers at Merville was partly due to the contributions, partly due to his contributions. On the night of his return from every trip, he would unpack the gifts in the room, separate them, classify, and make lists of them in his meticulous way till the wee hours of the next morning, oblivious of time, space, and unfortunately me, who would be trying to get a decent night's sleep in Sri Aurobindo's room next to his. A few times he very considerately drew the curtain between the rooms, thus reducing my hardship. He never forgot to give us some presents from the booty.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, along with being a little bit funny, that this was also that usually, we have images in our head about how spiritual life would be, and if you are given gifts, like you would just discard them, or something like that. But here, as we know, we read with Mother and Sri Aurobindo that integral yoga is taking care of each and every aspect of life. So even with the gifts that he's given, he's taken them with gratitude, and now he's meticulously, what Sri Aurobindo talks in the Mother, the aspect of Mahasaraswati, you know order and the meticulous thing in our work. So he's taking care that, and then of course he further distributes it, but first he sorts, organizes, makes list, and then he decides, which one to give to whom. So yeah, that was very striking. Yeah, anything here? Anyone?
I don't know if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, it's not a bit loud, but yes, it's coming. Your voice. Yeah.
Okay. Now I was remembering something because of what you said, that once a Buddhist teacher called Milarepa, I think he went to a teacher and wanted to learn the spiritual path. And so the teacher asks him for all the gold he has. And when he gives it, he gives everything he has. Uh, the teacher throws out all of the gold and says, oh, why for what I need this, because everything in the universe is gold for me. And it struck me in a special way, because he might have said, like, I don't care about anything, or this is the money is meaningless for me. But instead, he said that everything was gold for him. Like, it's really an appreciative way. Like, it's not like all is an illusion, but it's everything is precious. Everything is valuable. I think it reminds me of this attitude towards the, the, the absolute value of everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes. So life affirming attitude rather than life shunning attitude. Yes. Beautiful. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything here?
Yeah, when I heard this, it felt like there was this childlike, I don't know, simplicity and love, right? Like because again, we have heard of masters who would, whenever they are given something, they'll just maybe give it to the first person they can see. It's just, it's not thought of, but sitting with it, and the fact that the same night, how a child also cannot, like, he must have waited quite long, because it must be a long thing for him, right? The tools and all. So the same night he would do it, not even wait for the morning. So that innocence and that a little bit of excitement too, right? Like, yeah, so just that it's very joyous to read this, that okay.
I like the way how Nirodha is with his humor, writing about it. That he would not even care, if somebody's sleep is getting disturbed, and how he writes the last line. That at times he very considerately drew the curtain between the rooms, thus reducing my hardship. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we can now take this last bit of his life, which again in Nirodha's style is very interesting to read. Yeah, anyone who wants to read.
Yeah, from where?
This one, We Divided. Can you see it?
It keeps moving for me up and down. I don't know if I'm
अच्छा
something.
नहीं यहाँ पे it's not
Actually,
moving
now
here.
it stopped. It was
Okay.
just going up and down. Okay. Yeah.
Some goblins are around you playing pranks.
Yeah. We
Even
did.
for me, Monica, it was
It's
moving.
moving?
Yeah.
Monica,
For all of us. Now it has stopped, but it
Yeah.
was moving
Wow. So it's not moving for me. So some goblin here, I guess.
everywhere. The
Wait a
energy
second.
is
I'll
being
just
transmitted.
maybe what I'll do is I'll just reshare. Maybe now then it
No, now
helps.
it's fine. It
It
was
was
fine
fine
now.
now.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it had stopped.
Stop moving.
It's instability. Is at our corner, at your corner. It's just stillness and peace. That's what it was. Yeah. So the end. We divided Champaklal's life in the ashram into three parts. One, from his youth to Sri Aurobindo's passing. Two, from Sri Aurobindo's passing to the mother's departure. And three, from then on to his own exit. All the parts making up about 73 years, which is the longest period of stay in the ashram after Nolini Das, I believe. I have described the first two parts from my own personal contact with him and from other sadhaks. Now comes the last part, a very dolorous denouement to the lifelong dedication of a sadhak in the devoted service of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. I shall content myself with giving only the salient points of this part so that the readers and admirers of Maharaj may have a fairly rounded picture of his life. A part which is not very widely known but which adds a significant aspect that completes the personality of the man. Well, after this preamble, I must confess straight away that the readers may find the following very sad reading and may ask themselves many questions about it without finding satisfactory answers. I have said that Maharaj had. Should I have stopped? I don't.
No. I was just going to. Shall I highlight? Is it easier to read or is it okay right now? Like this?
Yeah, you can highlight. It's a bit.
Okay.
It's. I have said that Maharaj had finally returned home after this long globe trotting during which he spread the mother's message to the world through his unique way of silence. I don't know if he intended to resume his journeys later, but his long peregrinations in the late 70s and 80s with a frail body had taken their toll. Whenever he returned, he had always a few admirers who would attend on him and give him bath, massage, etc. One morning, we found to our shocking surprise that he was lying on the floor of his room in a kind of a trance. There were no movements of his body, his eyes were closed. I suspected a mild stroke. I told the attendants that we should let him remain lying down and request Dr. Datta to come immediately. I had to go somewhere for a while. On my return, I learned that Dr. Datta had found that Maharaj had had a mild stroke affecting the right side of his body. He could not move his right arm and leg. He had to be confined to bed. Now, a systematic regime was started consisting of massage and walking with the help and support of volunteers to serve him, and they were mostly young men from Gujarat and Orissa. Neither was there any lack of money. To nurse a paralytic patient is not an easy job because of his loss of ability to make voluntary movements. Muscles had to be re educated by regular artificial exercises. For a man who had been used to leading an active life, it was indeed a severe physical and psychological tapasya which Maharaj endured in the best of spirits. He would not express to anybody his inner condition, even in writing. But we noticed that he always kept a cheerful expression and a sweet smile, greeted close friends who came to see how he was. I'm so sorry. There were plenty of visitors from Gujarat, Orissa, and other places coming regular to see their Dadaji in the morning, afternoon, and even at night. They would sit by his bedside, sometimes for hours. Many suggestions were followed by way of treatment, but none seemed to produce any substantial effect. On the contrary, the limbs gradually began to lose their power of movement. My role was very small to keep a regular watch over his daily movements and inquire about his health. As I was busy during the day, I would spend some time in the evening with him. Maharaj had kept a chair reserved for me, and when I came, he would greet me with a smile and ask about my health by means of gestures.
Yeah. So I think maybe just to invoke us to read further, rest we can read at our own pace, uh, at our own, by our own. And so we won't be going through all of this. I just wanted to initiate this reading so that we become interested and maybe we can read it on our own then. So maybe now this end and then we can take a bit of uh, something else which I have. Yeah, so this epilogue, just the last bit about Champaklal ji. Yeah, if anyone wants, you can go ahead and please read.
Should I continue? Maharaj, by all means, was an extraordinary man. Few could have refrained from shedding silent tears when they heard the sad news. His only aim in life had been service to the divine, and who will question the one pointed aim and fulfillment of his soul? He was not a dreamer of big schemes for the ashram like Dhuman Bhai, nor did he have a zeal like Madhav to spread the great message all over earth, but to be like Hanuman, an absolute servitor, was the raison d'etre of his existence. And when that had been fulfilled, life lost its meaning, and he was bidding his time to hear the call to depart. He himself has said that he was happy and he had achieved what he had come for in this world. A man, I should say, of a psychic type. He was Balavat in his nature, pure and candid, loving, simple, generous, free from all attachment, and always living in the inmost consciousness. This is how he has appeared to me since I came to know him in the growing years. He had indeed a hot temper of which he repented, but it was like the outburst of a child that was forgotten the next minute. Two sadhaks of recent times stand apart from all others, whose image will always remain untarnished in our memory. One is Nolini Da and the other Maharaj Champaklal. Two true yogis. One predominantly a homo intellectualis, the other essentially a homo psychicus. Both of them attained rare heights of consciousness, each following his own path indicated by his Swadharma.
Yeah, anything here? Anyone? What a joy to go through these words. So I thought we could maybe read a bit of prayers and messages given to Champaklalji by the mother, and at times also a few responses by Sri Aurobindo. So it's just a not that much, that long, a few letters, a couple of letters, and then yeah, not the visions. We are not going to the visions. Just I think a page and a half uh, of messages and prayers given to Champaklalji, so that we can get motivated and inspired, also to take these in our life. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't read because in the cell phone it's very small.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Sardaji, you wanted to read?
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
read.
go ahead, please. Yeah.
Be simple, be happy, remain quiet, do your work as well as you can. Keep yourself always open towards me. That is all that is asked from you. In the night as in the day, be always with me. In sleep as in waking, let me feel in me always the reality of your presence. Let it sustain and make to grow in me truth, consciousness, and bliss constantly and at all times.
Yeah. So, Sardaji, maybe we can, what we can do is we can maybe, with each one of these, maybe we can stay for 1 minute, like
Yeah.
meditative staying with that, and then we can move on to the next one. So, as you are reading, we can maybe just inwardly stay with the prayer for a couple of minutes. So, Sardaji, if you can read this again, and then we
Yeah.
can have a moment of silence with this prayer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be simple, be happy, remain quiet. Do your work as well as you can. Keep yourself always open towards me. That is all that is asked from you. Mother.
So, very simple guidance. I think, again, something what Taru was sharing last time, that we can maybe write it down and paste on our walls to remind us. Be simple, be happy, remain quiet, and do your work as well as you can. Keep yourself always open towards me, that this is all that is asked from you. So, this is what Mother gave to Champaklal ji. Yeah. And I think this is one of from Sri Aurobindo, the second one, where he's suggesting him in to be in what state of consciousness regarding the divine. So maybe we can again, as Sardaji would read the prayer, maybe we can stay with it for a few seconds, minutes.
Yeah,
In
just
the
one
night.
thing. So
Yes.
sorry, but in the first one,
Yeah.
like each line, I mean, one or two words it's consisting of, and just this, I guess, this reminder or reinforcement that how the simple things are the most difficult for us to do, right? Like when you read this, it sounds like, oh, this is nothing, right? Oh, this I know. Again, how we take this, but just this line, say, be simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I look at my life, it takes effort to be simple at this
Mm-hmm.
stage. It's like the slippery slopes are there, the reactions are there, the outbursts are waiting to happen. And I have to remind myself that, it's not complicated. And sometimes I do, obviously. So again, be happy. It's tough to be always smiling. You know how mother says that remain quiet. You know, it's just like looks really simple,
Mm-hmm.
yet just needs so much of, I don't know, grace and true understanding, right? That, yeah, like unless I have actually understood and in faith, it's not possible to actually be simple, be happy, remain quiet, do your
Absolutely.
work as well as you can,
Yeah.
especially if it looks like mundane work, right?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? Just sit on his feet.
Yeah.
That's no work. But yes, it's so nice to have that, small thing like you made Sadaji read so that the stress could actually be given that that's the thing I'm aiming for. So just,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how we keep talking about surrender, surrender, surrender. That I guess when that would happen, or if that would happen, or whenever maybe momentary it happens, it's a byproduct. But these are the things that I can actually do. surrender doesn't feel like a doership, right? It feels like a happening as a byproduct, at least the way I see it. But this I can put my will and effort
Yeah.
and aspiration towards. It's real, it's in my hand, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry for it.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think very important. To realize that by default we are actually not simple. So that, as you said, that doesn't require any effort. Being complicated is no effort for us. We are always happy to be complicated. So that's where the sadhana comes into picture. That's where the vigilance comes into picture, that the moment I'm entering into any entanglement, or the moment I'm entering into anything wanting to make it more complicated, I can become conscious and remind myself that be simple, so I don't have to enter that slippery
Mm.
slope. Yeah.
Just this fact that I don't admit this even to myself, that being complicated comes naturally to
Mhm.
me. Somewhere in my mind, I have this false perception.
Mhm.
I want to be simple. I just want to be happy.
Mhm.
I am quiet if not for the world.
Mhm.
So I think this thing also needs to be corrected for me, that no,
Mhm.
the way I am right now, I'm not simple. Complication is my nature right now,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
just this admit ad you admitting it to myself, this acceptance,
Yeah.
at least I can see the truth, so that
Absolutely.
if there's a possibility, the complications can be dropped. But lying to myself,
Mm.
I don't even begin and I don't even realize I'm lying.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. I think that's Alokda in one of his talks was sharing, how delight is the basis of existence. And if I am complicated, you know, then certainly I am taking some delight in being complicated. It's hard to admit that no, I don't take delight in it. But if we see that some pleasure is there in being complicated, some pleasure is there in being unhappy, actually, when we are moody, we are taking delight in being moody. So when we stop to have that older taste that we used to have, now we see that it is not serving me well, and now I want a life which is simple, uncomplicated, and being with the mother more and more, and open to higher guidance and force. Then I think, every as you were sharing, every moment I can make the effort, and if the moment I'm walking the same old path, I can stop myself and remain away from the entanglement, or remain away even from stepping back from our moods. Because if I have decided, okay, be happy, then if mood comes, then I have to take them as coming from outside and step back, not give in to them. What we were reading in Synthesis of Yoga, I think that would also, yeah, relate. Yeah.
Mm. The step in between for me, I believe that I say want to be simple and I'm seeing I'm being complicated. And even if I'm not able to be simple, but now if I can just see that, see, I'm complicating it again. And even if I can't stop it, it really changes things for me in the long run. Like, as in the next time and the next time. Like, it doesn't happen drastically. It's not that, okay, I see, oh, I'm not being simple and I'm able to stop. It doesn't happen. But doing it while realizing that I don't want to be doing this is a very big thing I see all the time happening. So just sometimes it feels that I'm not good enough. I can't do it. While it should be simple, it's not simple, and that motion takes time. To
Yeah.
stop when we break. So
And also, we have, I think this would also connect with what we talk about, that being very sensitive to the unease which is generated when we are not in alignment with our true consciousness. So when I am now becoming conscious of this fact that, see, I complicate matters again and again, and knowing that it's an old habit and will die away slowly. So when I think the moment I'm going to enter that complicated path again, knowingly now, being conscious of it even a bit, then I think I do sense some kind of unease, like some bad taste, and now I don't want this bad taste in my life. So then that bad taste or unease will next time prevent me from entering, even if this time I may enter, you know, unknowingly, half knowingly, then it'll leave a bad taste in my mouth, as mother says, like unease in the being, that why did I have to do that, something like that. And then the next time when I'm going to enter again, that helps slowing down uh, the walk on that slippery slope again. So yes, I think it's again a long process in time, but even a long process in time is consisting of this little moments where something different is happening. Old neural pathways are changing.
And you know how mothers say, I think in the sunlit path it begins. No, they don't take my words for a
Yeah,
what
teaching,
is this
for a teaching.
teaching? Yeah, they are a force in itself. So,
Yes.
again, it's like say, if I'm feeling low,
Hmm.
and if I just see I'm feeling low and I can hear the mother's word that keep smile,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it's not making sense to me at that time, even if it's not coming naturally to me at that time, knowing these words, remembering these, although it's like, what is in it? Be simple, be happy, remain quiet.
Hmm.
And yet knowing from where they are coming from.
Hmm.
It's like if you say, no, she said to smile,
Yeah.
and you smile, and suddenly you don't realize, lot of
Shift
times,
happens. Yeah.
it just the shift happens and you don't remember that, okay, the smile was forced.
Yes.
The smile wasn't coming naturally, and suddenly the wave passes,
Yeah.
something like this. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that.
But I think in those cases, no part of my being should actually want to stick to that complicated kind of a behavior. So it's then only it can pass like a cloud, because if any part of me still wants something for that from that complication, then I would not be able to take this advice, for example, seriously, that no, mother said so, so let me be cheerful. So I think this self abnegation, where I'm putting my unfulfilled wishes and demands like on the side, and keeping mother's guidance in front, like, okay, mother said be cheerful, so I have to be cheerful, for mother's love. And I think, as you said very rightly, that it helps the cloud to just pass away, because you didn't want anything from that particular complication that was coming your way. So I think slowly through our experiences, as we give away the enchantment, that we have to these old habits, and that they will give us something, right? That's why I'm not able to leave that mood, because something I'm going to get. But now I know that only mother I rely upon completely, inwardly, and rest everything can either come or go, that doesn't matter. So enchantment is not there. So I think in those cases, it is for me kind of relatively simpler and easier to take this guidance, that no, although my mood is saying be in bad mood, but I don't want anything from the mood, and I want to hear mother's advice, which is be happy, or be cheerful, as mother talks about, cheerfulness. And then it helps, as you use the phrase, that it helps the cloud pass, which is very true. Yes. And this also connects with self abnegation, with mother uses in self prayers and meditations, that if one can teach each element of our being, in one of the prayers, self forgetfulness, self abnegation, that not to give so much of importance to what is unfulfilled in me, my unfulfilled dreams, wishes, just keep it aside, and then that becomes a new way of living. That's what mother says in that prayer, that it has we have to cultivate. And what you were saying in the beginning, put effort in this self abnegation, put effort, and slowly that becomes my way. So then the moment I give myself too much of importance, or my unfulfilled wishes too much of importance, then that leaves again a bad taste, and then I can realign myself. So yes, very, very relevant. I'm glad that you brought it up. So this can actually be just a whole lifetime of a work. just these 4 or 5 lines. Enough, you don't have to read any different Gita, anything. This is enough, too much of work here itself. And also remaining quiet, easier said than done again. And since we believe so strongly and rigidly in my thoughts, my opinions, how important they are, how strongly I have to hold them onto, in my head. And what we were reading in Synthesis of Yoga, that we have always to step back from thoughts, feelings, emotions, and they are not my thoughts and my feelings. So that also helps to remain quiet, knowing that I don't have to take them so seriously. And again, a kind of a disenchantment, I believe, is a background thing in all of these, that I don't want anything now for my fulfillment from the outer world. I'm still active in the outer world, but there is my fulfillment and contentment is not dependent upon the outer situations. So if people act my way, don't act my way, all that is taken in stride. Only then, the quiet is possible. Otherwise, only disturbance is there. Yeah. So Sardaji, would you like to read this one, the next one?
Yeah, sure. In the night as in the day, be always with me. In sleep as in waking, let me feel in me always the reality of your presence. Let it sustain and make to grow in me truth, consciousness, and bliss constantly at all times. Shri Aurobindo.
So, yeah, any reflections are more than welcome. We have this mantra given by Sri Aurobindo, Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parme. So, with the Divine Mother, if we are with her at all times, or whenever we are totally, really with her, that's what she gives as a boon. Ananda, which is bliss, Satya, which is truth, and yeah, Om Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, which is consciousness, truth, consciousness, and bliss. Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame. So that's what, as Alokda shares many a times, that the divine is always waiting that you give me the old baggage that you have, and you, take in exchange all this new stuff. But we are never ready. Yeah.
This again, in the night as in the day, how again that Kabir ji is that dukh mein sumran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi, right? It's reflected of that we remember him in the bad things, when I'm in pain, when I'm struggling, but when it's day too, be with me. In sleep as in waking, when you know or when you don't know, I really like the word reality of your presence. Because somewhere the presence we believe is a special thing. Like how we always say, this is my real life, this is my, session time, for example. So feel in me always the reality of your presence, not just the presence. That yes, it's a real, it's not just, make believe. And yeah, and the last one you've already said, yeah, it's very beautiful, very so small and so much in these. Yeah.
On this reality thing, uh, if you remember, we have read many times, where mother says that slowly a time comes when your inner life becomes more concrete and real than the outer life, right? So, most of the times, I remember I was doing this practice with a friend where I was asking her to write affirmations, and she was struggling with one of her relatives, a relationship with one of her relatives, lots of fear and anxiety with that relationship. So I said that whenever you notice any negative thought or fearful thought coming, that oh, what would happen to her or something like that, the very moment you notice it, you reaffirm something very positive, like I know that I don't know, and mother knows better, and mother is taking care of both of us, something like that. So when she was writing it, I sensed on her face, as if she's not very convinced about it. That as if she's faking it. So I asked her, and I told her that right now while writing it, you may be actually thinking that I'm faking it, right? Because for you that has become so real, what you're reaffirming in the mind all the time, which is, oh my god, what will happen to her, oh my god, what will happen to us, for example, right? So we don't realize that those thoughts that we take as real, since it was about reality, they are nothing but due to our reaffirmation of those thoughts again and again in loop. I have made that my reality. I have reaffirmed it in my thoughts again and again. And now if I want a different reality, then I have to exchange, I have to make mother my reality, and all that is transitory, illusory, like a passing cloud, not giving it much importance like I do. So that's where, I connected with when mother says that when the divine presence within you becomes more concrete and real than the fleeting outer phenomena, which thoughts and feelings are also, included in that, then something begins to shift. So that's what we have to do, because not to give too much reality and too much importance to the fleeting thoughts and feelings, but to give concrete reality, to make concrete reality of mother's presence in us. So even if it's a thought, and we know that if it's a vicious loop is starting, can I just switch into a new loop, which is mother's name? So that's making mother's presence and uh, her, yeah, her reality more concrete, that yes, that's there, and the other thing is now fading in the background. Mother is coming front in the foreground. And that is where I think again I connect with disenchantment, because when I am not able to leave the older thought patterns, it means that still there is some promise that they assure me that they will give me something. Otherwise, why will I keep holding fire in my hands when I know it's, going to burn my hand? It's only when I don't even know that it is fire that I am playing with. It still holds some promise that it will give me some chocolate, some sweet, and it's not really fire. Otherwise, I would not be asking people that, oh, I see that it is bad for me, but how to drop it? But if I see it's poison and fire that I'm holding in my hand, then I would not be asking anyone, oh, how to drop it. I'll just drop it. Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, Priyanka?
the first two lines
Yeah.
and the third line, uh, I find I'm trying to understand, but find a bit of a contradiction and I want to understand. Sri Aurobindo says in the first line that in the night, as in the day, be always with me. So he's saying Champaklal to be with him, to be in, total in connect and sync with him. And then in the second line, he says, in sleep as in waking, let me feel in me always the reality of your presence. So again, in somewhere it is again saying that, if you are totally uh, remembering God or even Sri Aurobindo equivalent to God, divine. So you are totally in sync with each other, total in yoga. And then in the third line, it says, let it sustain and make to grow in me, in Sri Aurobindo.
No,
Me.
actually, so this
No.
this prayer is written. Sri Aurobindo is giving it to Champaklal ji that this is what you
Oh,
must pray.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I was, I was just wondering. I mean, now you get it. So thank you for making that clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So as it read in the beginning, messages and prayers given to Champaklal. So that
Ah,
you know that this is what you must pray and this is what the attitude should be.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is written for Champaklal ji.
Thank you.
Yeah. Otherwise it could be really confusing, you're right.
Yeah. So I think I got it all wrong. I said,
Yeah, yeah,
oh. Good. I clarified it.
yeah. So I think this is also much in resonance with the first prayer. If anyone would like to read it, and then we can take a moment of silence and then share something.
I can read. Champaklal, smile always. Smile in difficulties. Smile in pain. Smile in suffering. Smile in sorrow. Smile always. Smile always. Smile.
No, I have a analytical bent of mind, like things have to make sense most of the time, trying to get that up. But when I first time had heard that, mothers saying that smile in all circumstances, it didn't make much sense to me. Like, why smile? Why not just be okay? Why not be neutral? Why isn't she saying, okay, don't any movement? She's saying smile. So it's like, and when you start smiling, and it's very apparent in this thing also. So if I smile in pain or in difficulty, that helps me in stepping back, right? Like somewhere that, okay, because I cannot smile if the pain is me. If I have become the suffering, become the difficulty, even artificially, I can't smile. So that to know that you're more, how, so that smile is kind of when something is kind of, something is being thrown at you. You cannot be told that, okay, be silent, be quiet, because then it will hit you. So when I'm smiling, I'm doing a counter attack almost, right? That no,
that's not true. So it was, yeah, just reminded me of that. Thank you.
Yeah, anything more? Anyone? I think to this also what is coming is that we don't realize that we have rigidities in our mind. um, and that's why it becomes difficult to smile, because something is happening which is not according to what I thought, you know, and that doesn't allow me to smile. No matter how hard I try, I'm just very serious, I can't smile because I had expected it to be a certain way, and it did not turn out to be that way. So I think for me it's also a very good realization when I am unable to smile, that something I am holding on to, some image, some expectation I'm holding on to, which was so far not even obvious to me that I was holding on to anything. And the moment I notice my seriousness and the expectation, if I can just shrug it off my shoulders, now that I know that there is a better possible way to go through it, and I don't have to keep clinging to my attitudes and my expectations. And also, I think at the background, I see here in this smile also a certitude that I am being taken care of in each and every circumstance. If that certitude somewhere in me is developing, then it will be relatively simpler to smile. That, oh, I thought, it's a bane, but I know that the divine is there, and uh, I may not know, but there is something more that is there in this situation. So again, shrugging off that seriousness and rigidity that is very natural to us adults specifically. Yeah.
Yes, I love this very much. I
Hmm.
was thinking about sharing it in the WhatsApp. I think it's a quick reminder of how the psychic feels. Like what is the psychic attitude? And for sure, if we still have ego that we have, there will be things that we cannot laugh, smile.
Very true, very true. Ego is not happy to give away its mood. Very true. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I think Nandini had unmuted. Nandini, you want to share?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just like, one is, the such beauty that, Champaklal, like a true child of, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and knowing that, I mean, just truly taken care of, as you said, right? The certitude of that. And to be, I mean, and second thing was like, I was just, this has been something of a, especially the, I think the word smile itself. See, when we were, I mean, when you're younger, right? It's so easy to just smile at everything or laugh about, right? I mean, there are all through your, I mean, when you're younger and when you're playful, when you're joyous, there is no, even if you fell down and, hurt your leg, I mean, you would just get up and you obviously would cry for a few minutes, but then your tears, then there would be again joy, right? So the transition was so quick. Whereas as you grow older, and which I have, obviously I've also gone through that, and that experience, when there are days when as you've grown older and your expectations and things that did not turn out the way that you lose just smiling. And it is yeah, you just lose that part. And like how when sometimes I appreciate, when we go, out of the country, or and somebody's, you're walking past, and still someone takes the effort to say hi, how do you do, or good morning, and those simple things that I don't find it here in India, uh, but I've made an attempt to do that, and yeah, I think it's a weird initially, but now it's, like people do sort of, engage, I mean, look at you and say good morning back. And but yeah, just that simple thing, just that smile. So by nature I find myself that I'm fairly, I mean, how would say, yes, I have difficulties, yes, I have, problems, yes, I have issues in life, but I've tried over and over again to look at it from a, slightly more positive way, and kept that, kept the smile. But yeah, there have been moments where and you question, you're asking yourself that why is it that, such a small thing, like, yeah, puts you off, or just the mood comes. Because for me it was a big challenge to understand why do people get moody, it was also a challenge because uh yeah I, sometimes, yes, there could be clinical issues or there could be other issues, but that was something that I think, yes, so it has take I mean, frankly, sometimes I obviously I have a teen at home, and the moods are like there's a range of moods. So but very gently and very this thing, I also have to put my, my faith in mother, and then I look at my daughter and I smile and I say, don't worry, things will be all right. Because obviously you're still, you're figuring it out, for not for them but for yourself also. So yeah, but this is so nice to know that, that someone like him, I mean, having, and this mornings that what you sent, about this person who went to take a darshan for mother, from mother. Yeah, that was just, it was really beautiful. Nowadays I just wake up in the morning actually, and the first thing I do is I read a post from, the any one of the, so I just start my day with reading now. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yes. No, I remember when my kids were even younger, they're still young, but even younger, then we went to click these passport size photographs. And since little ones, they don't know that you can't smile in that passport size photograph. You have to keep a neutral face. Yeah. Taru, you remember that anecdote I had shared with you, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, it's very strange for the kid, when
Mm.
you're telling them, like, again, happened to me as well, very, I don't know, visa picture and stuff, and the
Yeah.
person kept saying that don't smile, and he was like, yes, 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 and suddenly, yeah, it's just so
Yeah.
amazing how it's
Yeah.
so counter to how they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just this requirement in itself is pretty silly, right?
Yeah,
That
that you
you
can't
don't have,
smile. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. How funny is that? So the thing, what happened was that, so we were asking our child that be normal, be normal. Don't, be keep a normal face. You can't smile in this. So then later on, after the thing was over, he reflected that for adults, normal is this, but for kids normal is this. And that's why I was being my normal. So that was a very insightful reflection for us adults. Yeah, that, oh,
Yeah,
do we
nowadays,
look like this?
yeah,
Yeah. Yes,
sorry,
Nandini.
sorry, yeah,
Yeah, please
please.
go ahead.
No, so that's why nowadays just to see a baby is, I mean, to see a baby really is such a joy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's why
Yeah.
the elder generation specifically, dadajis and nanajis, they actually want to be around kids. Many, most of us, not all,
Hmm.
that because there is just something pure oozing out of kids,
Yeah.
yeah, and they don't even know, kids don't even know that. So
Know
that's
that.
the
Yeah.
best part, that
Yeah.
they are
And even your
innocently in delight. Yeah.
yeah. And even your pets, I look at my dog and I can't help smiling because there's so much of like she's just, her tail is constantly wagging 24 bar 7, right? I mean, unless of course when she's sleeping, but you just can't help it. They're so easy to look at, and just, and the minute you look, or they're looking at you with whatever, whether it's a walk, whether it's food being given or just playing, it's you just end up smiling, and you can keep looking at them. Anyway, I think, yeah, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Monica. All right. Have a
Thank you.
nice day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for being here. Yeah, thank you. One more thing which I wanted to add, that lately there was something, and one of my friends said something like, be happy, or something like, I don't know, something on those lines. And I was wondering that it was like I was about to go down a slippery slope. And then I heard it coming from her side, that be happy or stay happy, something like that. And I don't know what moved me, but I took that very seriously. That if that person who I really adore and love, if it is coming from that space, so it wasn't even, like, of course, one can say that from everywhere, mother is giving us suggestions, that can also be one way. But I was just wondering that I just took that seriously, and that if you are asking me to smile, then I have to smile. And as Taru was sharing earlier, that the cloud just passes by, because you did not give importance to the unfulfilled anything, the difficulty, the challenge. And actually, in very, very soon, now it may just come again because I'm talking about it. But very soon it just passed away, like it just brushed through, and I did not dwell much on it, because I took it very seriously, that if she's asking me to be happy, I must be happy. I must be smiling. So yeah, we don't know how it works, but it works. Yeah. So we'll take maybe rest of the things next time. There was a couple of more things that we could take, and maybe next time we can decide to uh, switch to, I don't know, some other uh, children of the mother. We'll see. It's nothing, no planning so far. Yeah. So just before we end, let us take one last moment in silence to share and dedicate the delight, joy, and merit to all the sentient beings. May all of us have peace in our hearts, minds. May our minds be peaceful, and lots of joy and progress and delight in life. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.